So when Rachel sent us the information about the first discovery call and the fact that it would be a phone call and that Oliver would be on with all of us, his whole parenting team, I was a little reluctant. For him, he really likes to meet people face to face or to see who he's talking to. And so I wasn't sure if he would open up on a phone call at all. And Rachel did just an incredible job of knowing how to connect with him where he was at and acknowledging what he was feeling in that moment. And as it went on, we all just watched him unfurl. Like he could just open up more and share what he wanted. Um, we as a parenting group had a lot of like insights into things that we didn't realize he was feeling or wishes that he had. And the one thing he shared that kind of didn't surprise us, but it was the first time we'd really heard him verbalize it, was the fact that his primary goal was to have one friend. And so by the end of that call, I remember Rachel saying something about how do you feel, or I forget how it was described, but he said that he felt like his glass was mostly full. And again, it was the first time I had ever heard him describe how he was feeling in that way. And it was really positive. And we knew at that point that we were in the right place and that this was really the thing that we had been looking for him. And still, I was a little reluctant because we've been trying to make friends for so long and it's just been hard. Oliver was nervous for his first session with Rachel, and she immediately put him at ease because she allowed him to kind of create the space how he wanted to. And so he brought in pillows and he brought in blankets and he explained that sometimes he wanted to move around, and she not only understood it but supported him and encouraged him in that, which only gave him more confidence and allowed him to share even more. He cannot wait for his weekly meetings with her now. It's his time where he really fully gets to unmask and be himself and express what he needs to somebody who is completely a safe space, that he doesn't worry as much about hurting her feelings or because he knows he can just say what he needs to say, and that she's a space for him to listen and offer guidance and perspective to him. So right from that first meeting, it was great, and he has just changed and grown so much since then. I've been astonished at how fast it's happened. I think the first thing we noticed in Oliver was the increase in his confidence. And which was really neat because as an approach to bullying, I had seen Rachel talk a lot about bullying and about helping kids with bullying, but I didn't know what that meant. And she really starts from the inside out perspective of feel good about yourself, be proud of yourself. It grows your confidence and you show up differently to bullies. And for Oliver, he really started seeing that people responded differently to him because he was showing up in a new way. And he didn't have to be aggressive. He didn't have to be, he didn't even have to overly verbalize with them. She taught him boundaries. And so just saying the word no and having the confidence when somebody would say something or try and cross a line that he didn't feel comfortable with, to say no and walk away was huge. And it's made such a difference in his middle school experience so far. What I love most about what Ollie has learned in his time with Rachel is that she really supports him in self-advocating. He'll do it sometimes at the end of their meetings together, where he will call my wife and I in, and we can see that he gets nervous sometimes, but he will share what he's feeling. And I think he's just nervous because it hasn't been a practice before. It hasn't been something he's always felt comfortable doing. Not that we, even as parents, when we have our best intention and we think we're providing this safe space and support, sometimes they still don't have the skills that they need to say what they need. Um, and so him building the confidence to be able to share what he needed, what things felt like to him, how he was perceiving things was hugely helpful to us just in being able to communicate with him. And then I saw that change in other areas as well. And so at school, because he was more confident, he felt better about not trying to act or imitate anyone else and instead just act like himself. I didn't realize that he was trying to conform to be like neurotypical kids in his school. And so he would try and make the same jokes that they made, even if it didn't make sense to him. And um, he would try and communicate in the same way they did, even if it didn't feel real to him. And so finally, he just started going to school and realized he could just be himself. And that was when things really changed because then he started making friends. Like I still remember the day I picked him up from school and he got in the car and I said, "How was your day?" And he went through this laundry list of people and they all had code names already of his friendship pod that he had made. And I mean, I was almost in tears in the car because I'm like, who is this kid? How did this happen? What magic did Rachel do that he not only got one friend, and he has one really, really good friend now who has been so amazingly supportive of him, but he has more friends too. Like it just had this cascading effect, and he's so much happier. And I think it's like it keeps exponentiating. He sees more people reflecting back that they love him for who he is. And so he is just like full on Ollie right now. And that's just such a cool thing to see because he's a really cool kid. So I found Rachel on social media and immediately loved the content. I loved how real it was and how warm it was. And but I still didn't know that it was a possibility for us and for our son to work with Rachel, or if we were the right fit for the type of services she provided. Um, and then as I got to know Rachel more and learn more about her book and everything else, and our son started middle school in sixth grade and started experiencing real time a lot of the bullying things that she talked about in her social media, I realized that it was the next right step to reach out and see if this was a good fit. And that first meeting was amazing. When Oliver was younger and he was struggling with different issues in school, but still related to his autism and his ADHD, we had reached out to a licensed therapist that he worked with for a very short time, and it wasn't a good fit. He felt like he was being talked down to. He felt like things were being oversimplified for him. And so I had a lot of reluctancy to put him into a new program too quickly without making sure that it was a good match. My spouse and I and Oliver's dad started researching bullying programs once he got into middle school. We saw there were a wide variety of options, that there were group sessions and in-person sessions, but nothing else really let us know if it would really help him and the specific situations, specific things that he needed as a child with autism and ADHD and bullying. And so Oliver, when we first brought the idea up to him, he was kind of reluctant about the idea of working with Rachel because he said, "Well, Mom, I don't know her." And I said, "Well, fair, but I've interacted with her, for years now. We've talked on social media, and I have a really good feeling. I would love for the two of you to meet." And so, right from that first meeting, it was evident that this was the match that we were looking for. And so, it was so beneficial when he finally reached the point, and it took a little while in the sessions, but for him to be able to open up and share how upset he was sometimes and how hurt he could be by other people's words, even if they had good intentions, or even if they were just teasing, or even if it was sarcasm or whatever it was, um, that it was having an impact on him and how he felt he could show up in the family. And I remember him saying one time, he mentioned something called an invisible contract. And so we said, well, what is an invisible contract? And he said, well, sometimes I feel like when you ask me what I want to do, it's not really a question of what do I want to do. It's kind of like an expectation of this is what we're doing right now. Are you in? Um, and so it was this, this unwritten rule or just this kind of expectation that we're all going to a theme park or we're all going out to ice cream or all doing whatever, all the things that we parents do that we think enrich our children's lives or make them more fun. But for him, and especially with his autism and ADHD, they were really overwhelming. And so sometimes he felt overscheduled and sometimes the sounds were just too much or the there wasn't enough movement for him or whatever, any sort of thing. So it was really helpful that he could verbalize that now when he needs to stay home or he needs to rest or he needs to move, he can let us know. And so it allows us to plan a bit better as well. Oh, and that was the other thing too that we learned that I tend to be a very spontaneous person. And I have my ideas are going in a million places all the time. So I'm always like, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And for him, my volcano of ideas is very stressful. Everything seems a little too fast or unplanned, and he needs more time to transition between things. So now I've been trying to be more mindful as well, which is good for me. It's good for everyone in our family to plan what we're going to do in advance and for everyone to have an idea and plan accordingly. And if it really doesn't work for them, then we can find alternate solutions as well. It's really given us an awareness, a better awareness of how each of us operates differently. I think it's lessened our frustration with each other because we understand, like, okay, when we're watching a movie, if he needs to bounce around behind us, behind the couch, like that's his thing that he needs to do. And that's totally fine. That's not him disconnecting from the family. That's not him trying to say he doesn't want to spend time with us, or he's bored. He is in it with us just as much as we are, and also needs that movement in his life. Yeah. So it's interesting when I share with people, with family members outside of our circle or friends, that Oliver has a coach, and they're really surprised. I think there's ideas around what coaching is, both for adults, but especially for kids. And um, for us, I'm so glad that we went this route. We tried working with the licensed therapists and found it frustrating how bound they were by the structure and framework, that they were almost so tied to their teachings that they couldn't see him. They they saw their way of doing things and tried to fit him into it. And so what I loved about Rachel and her coaching is that it just creates this bigger space to hold for him. And what she brought in was the lived experience of saying, I feel this, I've been there, I know what this is like. I've worked with so many other people who have been in similar situations. That was so much more helpful for him than any sort of, clinical type of definitions we had gotten in the past. And that's really what he was looking for, was just to feel seen and for somebody to treat him as he was as a person, not treat an 11-year-old with this label and this label and this label. So for us, it was the ideal scenario, but there's obviously some reluctancy out there because you just don't know. And so Rachel made it very apparent in our initial discovery call of how much knowledge she has in this field, how much work she's done in this field, um, the success that the students that she's worked with have had, the relationships that they've developed over years and years. I mean, I think that really speaks to her talents so much, is that this isn't just a once a week meeting. Like, this is a bond that they create, in a relationship that so many of these kids carry with them forward into their life, because it really does change their life. What happened just even in those first 12 weeks was so transformative for him that I would I have zero regrets about our decision or our choices, and I know that what we have invested right now is going to pay dividends in Oliver's life and in our family. So thanks, Rachel.
Working with Miss Rachel is awesome sauce. She's helped me in so many ways that sometimes I can't even like explain. They're just bleh. um. So she's helped me for so many things in my life, standing up for myself, making friends, and all that stuff. So thumbs up to Miss Rachel. Before, I was very shy. I did not have any friends. Um, I was like, because like I have ADHD and autism, so like sometimes I'm just like for life, it can be like struggling because like, and there's like some things I don't know how to express to my family. Sometimes like my family doesn't know like what actually is happening in my brain. So, and sensory wise. So because of that, like when I talked to Miss Rachel, like I was able to like express myself, and like when I express myself I feel good, and like it's been making my life like much easier, like understanding how kind of like my brain works, what I prefer. I didn't have any friends before it, although like, and I never stood up to myself, like saying, "Hey, I don't like this." I just kind of like followed like everything. But like talking to Miss Rachel, like I was able to make friends, stand up and say like, "Hey, I don't like this." So it's just made me like a better person in general because I did not talk at all. I was like nervous all the time. Just didn't talk to anyone because I felt like nervous and awkward around them. So, yeah, thumbs up to Miss Rachel. Like how I said, like how I had like zero friends because like again because like how I didn't like talk to anyone because I felt nervous around them and like awkward around them because like many people these days are just all about, and y'all, did you see the new meme video about that like skibbity riz? So like, and like I didn't understand that. So like I was hoping just to like have one person I can talk to without like masking myself. Just like to so that like I wouldn't have to like pretend to be someone like who I'm not. Like I didn't have to like try to fit in. So like I kind of made like a couple friends, but like I realized that they weren't like real friends. So like before Miss Rachel, like I had to like friends that I thought were friends, but they weren't actually friends. So like Miss Rachel, like she's helped me find my people. So like I met like a lot of new people who like also are just weird and they don't have a lot of friends. And like then we kind of like found each other. We started talking to each other, and now instead of just having like a couple fake friends, now I have like many like real friends that I get to talk to. So it's nice. It's definitely easier to like communicate and like kind of just live life because like it's been like because like I had said, like I didn't like stand up for myself. I didn't have friends. And, like I get very um I get very like sensitive to some things. So like being able to just like coach me by saying like, hey, like you can do this, or like, hey, how about this? So like and how I've made friends and like because like before um I was like because like before like one example is like in the lunchroom because like I don't like the lunchroom. Um it like makes it make since it's like very loud and I don't have anyone to talk to, like all I could do was just like cover my ears or like decide to read. And like even that wasn't really enough. So like and like I didn't want to like ask and like I felt weird like because I didn't want to like ask one of the people like saying like, "Hey, can I eat in a different area?" Uh so because I felt like that it was being unfair to the other people who like don't like who also don't like eating in the lunchroom, but like they still have to do it because like those are just the rules. But like she's like helped me say like it's okay, like you can get this. So like and like from that point on, like I've been eating in the teacher's room and like none of the teachers like have a problem with that. They're just like, "Oh, okay." So it's been nice and like also saying like just standing up to teachers or like just kind of like because like if a teacher like said something and I shouldn't do something like I would just like even if it was incorrect or like if a student said like hey you did this and it was incorrect I would just like kind of like just say like okay sorry, but I wouldn't say like, no, I didn't do this, or like, hey, I need to do this because like so it's helped me a lot with standing up to myself and it's made me more comfortable. I always just did what people said and like if one like a person who I didn't know was just like come over here, I would just be like okay. But like now, like I've understanding like how to stand up myself to myself. Like if someone's like, "Hey, come over here," I'm just going like no. And like same for my sister too. Like sometimes she's like mean to me and like I've just kind of been like not saying anything else. Although I've been like, hey, I don't like this. Like, I don't like how you're treating me. Stop. Because I can't feel what you're feeling. You can't feel what I'm feeling. And like sometimes I have like a lot of sensory issues. So yeah, whenever I like said to my parents like, "Hey, I'm having trouble cleaning my room," like or like I don't want to clean my room, they just were like, "You have to clean your room, yeah, or otherwise like you can't get to play." So like and like it came to the point where like sometimes I would like avoid it for like hours until like I just decided to and then like I eventually like cried because like I was upset about it. Um and then so when I did it so like and then like after I just felt like no emotion and like after I cried I just felt like no emotions and like I like forced myself just to clean my room but like I wouldn't feel good doing it. But like now talking to Miss Rachel, um, like she's helped me like un tell my parents like, hey, he like how I'm not like very how I have a hard time paying attention or like deciding like what to do next. Um, and like so it's made them so that like they can like understand like what's going through my body and like my mind. So like now they like stay in my room while doing it and like so they can be like, all right, how about you start with this first? And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So like I do that And then like if I get distracted, they could be like, "Hey, hey, you need to work on this." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." So it's like kind of just like it's good because then like I'm able to like get the work done, and instead of like waiting hours until being able to do it, like now I can just like do it in like I can just do it in like 30 minutes to an hour. So it's nice. Like it's made me like realize like I'm a good person. Like I'm not just some like bad person who like doesn't say a thing and like everyone hates like me, and then like it's made me like realize like how how like I'm a good kid. So yeah, it's helped me like a lot. And I didn't think it like talking to you like at the start, I didn't think like you would be much of a difference. But like as I did like more and more meetings with you, I was like, I like this. This is fun. I have someone to talk to. So I would just say to like everyone who like is scared of like doing I would just say like I was the same way and I turned out to like it. And like it's kind of like a roller coaster. Like let's say you're scared to go on a roller coaster and like you're in line and like you don't think you're gonna like it and then you get on the coast roller coaster and you like it. That's kind of how this is kind of like how it feels. You'll feel nervous at the start, but you will like it.